Good evening to all, and you are very welcome to the Akasanoma 2017 workshop on sexual diversity. We otherwise call it the same-sex relationship debate. In the former context, my name is Joe Lamptey. I am within the organization the executive secretary, but for today, I wear the hat of a moderator. I'm going to moderate the program. Now, quickly, I need to say we will adopt a roundtable format, and the objective is to offer every participant opportunity to share his thoughts freely, but placed politely on the subject for discussion. Emphasis here is thoughts or views will be shared freely but politely. It's always the culture we adopt at these sessions. This is very important if the objective of the session should be achieved at the end of the day. And we should be mindful nobody is here to embarrass him or herself or to be embarrassed. The last thing we should expect is that. Now, for the information of all, we have in our midst two guests who have voluntarily offered to share with us their experiences with what I call transformation. That's what we call the norm, but we also know a group of people we refer to as the LGBTs. They, for the rest of us, have a life that some of us find a bit out of the normal, and these two guests have voluntarily offered to share with us their personal experiences. We appreciate it very much, and I hope by the time all is done, we will walk away learning more about their work. Before we start, I wish to put it on record. Not too long ago, Ghanaians abroad woke up to what I would call an uproar back in Ghana, following the pronouncement by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo of Ghana on what most of us consider as very contentious subject of same-sex relationship in Ghana. This was in an interview in London on the Al Jazeera network. Consequently, furious attacks came from left, right, and the center, with the loudest from the religious bodies that usually take the front row position on matters pertaining to morality. Right or wrong, justified or unjustified, it is what the culture has been, and we are not going to see a different case for a very long time to come. I have no explanation for this because there is none. It is what we are good at as Ghanaians. Some call it hypocrisy or pontificating. Whatever Ghanaians think or choose to react to what President Akufo-Addo's pronouncement was at the last count, we know 24 countries have legalized same-sex marriage. The last, and very recent, is Australia. As narrow as the term homosexuality is, against the backdrop of the broader community of LGBTs, unfortunately, this issue of homosexuality overshadows everything else about the LGBT community. And this is why our guests are here, and we are likely to learn more from them. There's this school of thought, and many see it as just a perception emanating more from faith-based beliefs than good knowledge about the inner world of what some want to see as death. But most Ghanaians here know the issue of Kujobesia, what we say. We've lived with it for a very long time. And in God's name, I need to say that Akasanoma, when we take on this responsibility, is in no way intended to promote homosexuality. We only offer the platform to learn more about the subject. And let it be very clear that we are not here to do different things than the same objective is to offer the opportunity for us to learn more about the subject. And it means different things to different people, but what needs to be stressed is I have done this at every opportunity we get. Please, in God's name, we subscribe to the philosophy of live and let live. We also believe that there is enough space in this world for homosexuals, or how we call them, but the general and formal context is the LGBT community, we call it. So I will quickly explain the format we are going to adopt this evening. I will offer opportunity to our guests to share their experience with us. Thereafter, we enter into what we call interactive discussions. Based on the account they give, we have questions or views to express. We go into that. My guests here today, first is Sean Cloud. Sean is a transgender. He's sitting next to Janelle. Janelle Tanford is the full name. Sean is a transgender. He was born female. Today, as we speak, is in the process of fully becoming a male. And he's going to take us through how it all happened. So we will give the opportunity to Sean to share his personal experience with us. Thank you very much. Sean, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is very powerful in a way because I'm amongst predominantly men. And this is very, very validating for me. And not only men, black men. So I could definitely relate. Of lately, trust me, my story gets more interesting. As Joe said, my name is Sean Claude Dufil. I am Jamaican. I came here in Holland 2 years, 3 months ago, almost 4 months. I lived in Amsterdam almost 2 years. I am an asylum seeker. I came here on the basis of gender and sexual discrimination. Yeah, and I'm Joe. I met Joe at a event, Connecting Differences, where I would usually share my story. And he was intrigued by my story, so he asked me to come, and I'm like, okay, let me share my story. So here goes. As I said, I've been in in Amsterdam for a little over 2 years, and almost 2 years rather, and I experienced discrimination for the first time ever at a gay club on a gay street. So I was at this club, partying and stuff, and there were 3 men who will be, the culture would be nameless, I won't name the culture, but there were 3 men standing at the club door, and they wanted to go in, but they were like, look at those people in there, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're standing at a gay bar, so why are you here? They wanted to go in, one guy went in to buy beer and stuff, but he came back out, but he stood there at the door. There were other clubs, but he stood there. So I'm like, why are you standing here? Anywho, I started to talk to one of the men, and he started to talk to me, and he spat in my face while talking. And I'm like, what? Did you really do that? Did you spit in my face? He's like, no, I didn't. And he did it again. And I got very aggressive. And I must tell you, this is a disclaimer, testosterone is a very aggressive hormone. I really got very on the defensive. I got very defensive. And I'm like, if you do that again, it's going to get physical. And he did it again, and I'm like, why am I doing this? I looked into myself and I'm like, this is not me. I'm not someone who resort to violence easily. And this is a big guy. And I'm like, how am I going to be this big guy? There's three of them, but one was more vocal. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to live my truth. So I'm like, okay, I respect this place. I respect myself. I'm not going to have an argument with you. I just enjoy myself, and I introduced myself again, and I said to him, I'm a female to male transgender. What can you say? I'm not the one that's standing at the front of a gay bar wanting to go in and scared to go in. And he's like, what? And I said it again. My name is Sean Claude. I'm a female to male transgender. What can you say for yourself? And in that point, he came right down. His energy came down. And persons now came to, support me. The bouncer was there. He's like, I got your back, don't worry. And other persons came and they're like, leave the person alone, blah, blah, blah. I drank free for the rest of the night. And, afterwards, he came to me afterwards. I came back outside and he came to me and he apologized. And I'm like, why? He's like, I just want to apologize for what I did, and I'm like, it's okay, I understand. But I shared that story to give the point that when persons struggle with who they are, they tend to take it out on someone else. So in that moment, I decided to live authentically and to speak my truth, not to impress him, but to be true to myself. It was really for myself. And the mere fact that he came and he apologized, it speaks volumes. And this is why I do what I do as an activist. I go around sharing my story to sensitize others for me to live in a better world and for persons to be more tolerable of other persons and understand that there are other diverse persons out there who just want to live a normal life. So that's why I do what I do. So I'm going to share a little more of my personal story now. I discovered I was different as young as age 4. I realized that I was attracted to women at that tender age. But living in Jamaica, that's predominantly a Christian country, and I grew up in a Christian family, and there was no one really to talk to about this. I suppressed this. But I knew I was very much attracted to women at that tender age. And I'm like, okay, what do I do with this? And as I grew, I thought it would go away, but it didn't. It just got more predominant. I realized my discomfort in female clothing, but I didn't have a choice. I just had to wear it because I was living with my mom and blah. And I'm like, okay, I just have to accept this being who I am. But I felt really uneasy, but I didn't understand what it was. In my teenage years, I got exposed to what it means to be transsexual, transgender. And again, in Jamaica, I didn't see anyone that would represent me. And I'm like, okay, this is something different. I don't know how to deal with this. Then again, I suppressed it. And I remember in high school, I was talking to a friend. She's a lesbian, and I asked her if she would ever get the chance to remove her breast, would she do it? She said, no. For me, it was a resounding yes. And I didn't understand where that was coming from. I just felt that it shouldn't be there. So in my, early adulthood, I fully accepted myself as a lesbian. I was living as a butch lesbian for quite some time, but it didn't feel true to myself. I was still very masculine, very dominant, and I just didn't feel comfortable identifying as female. And again, I didn't understand what was going on really, and during that time I met a transgender woman living in Jamaica. She self-medicated. meaning she did her physical transition on her own in terms of giving herself hormones, and she was a facilitator at a workshop talking about what it means to be transgender and transgenderism. And when she did that, I was very intrigued, and after her session, she came out as transgender, and that was very powerful for me. That was very validating for me. And I'm like, okay, there is someone I can relate to that has my experience. And after the session, I stood up, I introduced myself as Jean-Claude, and I preferred male pronouns, him and he. Most of the persons in the room, they laughed. But for me, it was very liberating because I can now be true to myself, and I now understood how I was feeling. And even then, after coming out, I struggled with my sexuality and accepting me as a transgender person. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? I was with my girlfriend at the time. Would she understand? My family, would they accept this? I'm living in one of the most homophobic and transphobic countries in the world. What am I doing? How am I going to live my truth? Because I know that I wanted to physically transition. And that didn't really stop me from being myself. That didn't really stop me from living my truth. And about a couple of months after that, I made a home video for myself, coming out to myself as transgender. So that's a little bit of my story. Whilst Joe was talking, he made reference to LGBT and same-sex. I wanted to point out that the term transgender, it's an umbrella term. It is very separate from sexuality. Transgender has specifically to do with your gender, how you identify personally. Sexuality, orientation is who you are sexually, spiritually, emotionally attracted to as an individual. So just to make the point that transgender is two separate things, and transgender is an umbrella term. So I'm classified as someone who is a transsexual because I choose to physically transition for me to be comfortable. And for me to physically transition, there is something that's called gender dysphoria. It's a medical term, and where some parts of your body, it makes you unhappy, it makes you uneasy. It makes you depressed, you don't connect with it, you don't feel it, it just should not be there. And it brings you in a state of depression. A lot of transgender persons commit suicide because of this, because they don't have the resources to be themselves, and it is just overbearing that they just can't live in basically they're born in the wrong body. That's the easiest term. That's the way I have to put it. So it's an umbrella term, and you also have drag queens under that term. You have genderqueer persons. These are persons that they don't identify as either male or female. They're gender neutral. You have cross-dressers. Cross-dressers, they are usually not gay. These are males that are females that they just dress up as the opposite sex. So it's a broad umbrella term. So for me, especially going to zoom back to me, for me, I am a transsexual, physically undergoing transition. I am a year on testosterone officially yesterday. As I said, it's a very powerful, aggressive hormone. And I'm still getting used to it. I have a lot of energy. Physically, I've grown body mass. My voice has changed a lot. I'm growing facial hair, and I'm now seeing male privilege. Yes, I have male privilege, and I'm like, okay, all right. And I use this privilege to talk about, to give awareness to transgenders and the topic of, what it means to be transgender, because I realized that a female to male transgender is more accepting than a male to female transgender. it's really sad, but that is the reality, and it goes to show that femininity is seen as a lower species, a lower, like, I really just can't understand it, but I'm no experience in male privilege. But there's also one thing that I am that makes me uneasy during my transition. Along with this male privilege, I'm black.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, it's getting real right now. So I'm walking on the road and you see persons, mostly women, holding on to their bags a little tighter. I'm in the club. Even yesterday, I was in a club and just going to the bar to buy a glass of wine, and this man, he just looked at me. Though there were 2 jackets on a stool, and he looked at me. He took his jacket up and he put it on his lap, and I just smiled. I'm like, really? Anywho, and then he moved to the other bench, and I'm like, okay. And this is happening a lot. Yesterday I was in the market trying to buy a socks because the organization I volunteer for, they were having a Christmas party, and I needed a socks to wear my shoes, and I just went into the store and persons were watching me all over. Like, I'm trying to just choose a sock here.
Yeah.
Like, why are you so watching me so attentive? I'm like, okay, this is what it really feels like to be a black man in a white world, you know. So I am. These are the things I'm learning, and I'm still learning about this male privilege, which it's bittersweet, trust me. So I can relate. That's why being here amongst you men right now is very powerful for me, knowing that I can talk and you guys can, you know, relate to my experience as living as a male. So yeah, that's just it in a nutshell. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Sean. I have a photograph of what it takes, the transitional level, and he kept talking about transition. Transition means being transformed from the female. I understand the light, if you can turn it off and see. Being transformed from the female to a male. And the scars there can tell you the story better. This is what goes on when the breast has to be knocked off. So what intrigued me more about Sean's case, when I was asking him questions at that event, he asked me, do I think, is it for fun that he's going to offer his body, okay, for all this to happen if it's not what he feels within? And this is what made me to look at this process of, you know, it's a phenomenon that most of us don't understand. We take it as being fake. So that was what he asked me. Would he fake this if he knows that at that point he's going to go through this surgical processes to really have the breast off, and then he can feel being a male? I don't, Sean, you are not there yet.
Oh no. I have surgery coming up soon next year.
Okay.
So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Okay. So this is what some of them face, and probably in the course of the discussion we will go more into that. Janelle?
Okay. Welcome to Men's Wear.
It's an interesting word.
Yeah. Janelle,
My turn.
what
Okay.
yes can we know
Yeah,
or share with us?
I'm Janila. I'm 37, and my story got a lot of similarities with Sean's story. When I was 4, I also knew, and I felt it in my whole being that I was different. Even when I went to school, I directly felt that I'm not like the other boys. I tried to be, but it was just a setup for failure to me. I also know that I had dreams of me being a little girl running in a field with flowers and stuff like that, very cliche, but still it was like my dream of freedom and being who I am and being able to run wild and be myself. But in reality it wasn't like that because, yeah, I was born a boy, so I was told almost every day, like, boys don't act like that, behave like a boy, don't play with the dolls, play with this, play with that, act like this, act like... So growing up, it wasn't easy for me because I never felt like I could be myself. Not at school, not with my family. I did have my times that I could be myself because I'm the oldest of my mother. After me, I have a sister. And after that, I got 4 brothers. So it was like a house full of boys. But still, when I looked at my brothers, I couldn't compare myself to them. And so I'm still am very close to my sister. And when my parents were asleep or awake, and I had my chance to play with the dolls. And yeah, it was very hard, but I tried my best. I did everything that boys do. I played soccer. I did it all until a certain age. When I was 16, I was like really at the bottom of my worst depression because it was heavy every day, going out, acting like something that I'm not. It's like, yeah, if you wake up tomorrow and somebody told you, behave like a woman, you wouldn't pass the test. So it's hard, all your energy goes into that. So when I was like 20, I was at my point, like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I tried the girlfriend things, and even though they were nice to me and stuff, I never fell in love with a woman. I didn't feel like a man should supposed to feel when he's with a woman. So I tried it until I was 20, and after that I was like, okay, the year 2000, it's gonna be my year. And I had something like, I don't care anymore if I'm gonna lose my friends, my family, or whatever. If I have to go through this alone, I will go through this alone. And in the beginning it was hard. My sister didn't talk to me for months because she always was the one that was the first one to jump for me when somebody said something close to, like, is he gay? Is he something? And she would be my defender. So after that, she didn't talk to me. My brothers were like doing their own thing, and still after me 20 I was when I realized that, okay, I had my first boyfriend and my first kiss, and I felt like heaven to me. So that was the time that I realized that, okay, so this is my, this is what makes me feel good. But still it was like, how am I going to do this? Because growing up I didn't have nobody to, that would represent me or whatever. I didn't have an uncle or aunt that was a lesbian or transsexual, so I didn't understand these things, and my family didn't have the experience of it either. So that was the time that I went out to a gay bar, and then the first real time that I felt like I'm not that strange. There are more people like me. And it was like feeling great when I walk into the club and see other guys at that time that was just as feminine as me. And we would be like, hey girl, and stuff like that. And it felt good. So after that, I started my journey because I became more feminine, more feminine. My brows were getting thinner. I had my lip gloss. I found that the jeans for women, they fitted me better than those of men. And I slowly started transitioning from male to female. Still, it took me like 4 years to to really decide to go for it a full 100%. It was after I spent like 8 months in Suriname, and I still hang with the guys and stuff like that, and it was okay. And there I came to understand, like, I will never be one of them. And they made sure that I knew too. They always was like, yeah, but close this, close that, because you can't be walking around like this. Women don't act like that. And I was like, hey. So they really like starting to accept me as in my role as a woman. And after coming back, I went to the doctor, and that time I started wearing my hair like longer. I had the appearance of a woman, and I went to my doctor and I said, like, I want to tell you that I don't feel good the way I am, and that I want to start my transitioning. I want to start taking hormones and stuff. And my doctor looked at me, already know me since I was 4 years old, and he said, like, how I see you sitting here in front of me, you're a woman, and I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna subscribe those hormones to you. So after that, I went to the hospital, and I had my appointment, and that's the way things start rolling for me. And then you had the diagnostic phase, that you have to talk to a lot of shrinks and stuff like that, so that they can see the dysphoria, like they call it. So at 24 I was 24, and it took 6 years for me to fully have my operation and stuff.
Yeah.
It in a nutshell.
Thank you very much. I think when you come up, let your voice be heard for the cameras.
Yeah.
If I'm reading the minds of those of us here, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. Mine particularly will be, we hear transition, this, that. Interesting enough, this case is the reverse.
Yeah.
Yours. The first you deal with, I think, should be the voice issue. I mean, your case from male to female. We know when you speak to a lady on phone, many times you can't tell. And then a man, you are able also to tell. Now, generally, if anybody is talking to you on phone, not until you say that you are the other, it's not so easy to tell. Now, I'm coming. Sean's case, it's also, he's still himself, and now his voice transitioned from female to a male's voice. There are processes. Is there any way in Sean's case, take us through that process a bit, how you were able to get the voice to match your gender now? Okay, we hear hormones and these and these. Some of us are completely
that's basically
laymen in this thing. So you will take us through that, and then now for the newly born male, she's going to tell us how now she wears her top.
Okay. Firstly, I must say that I want to make a correction.
Yeah.
I was not born female at birth. I was assigned female at birth. There's a difference.
Can you explain?
There is definitely a difference.
You're
So
trying
it
to place
is.
the middle now.
It is said that boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. In my case, I don't have a penis, but I identify as male. So it's a term that how should I say
You were
this?
born with
We're
a female part.
Yes,
Okay.
but I was assigned female based on the genitalia I was born with.
Good.
So there is a difference with genitalia and gender. Genitalia doesn't make you male or female. This point is very debatable, but it is just what it is. Society says boys have a penis, girls have a vagina. But medically, you are assigned female at birth based on your genitalia. I was not born female. That's just, it makes me a bit uneasy when I hear that, born female. So you're assigned male at birth, and you chose to go with that gender, which considered cisgender. So men who were born and assigned male at birth and identify as such are considered cisgender males. So you have transgender males, which is me. Cisgender males are men assigned at birth,
Yes.
and they affirm themselves as such. That's one. So to answer your question, I just needed to make that clear. To my voice getting deeper, it's solely based on testosterone. As I said, testosterone is a very powerful hormone. It is very strong. So it will definitely give a dip in my voice. So, and it thickens my voice cords. So, because about 2 months, I felt a little tingling in my voice about 2 weeks on testosterone. It was very itchy, very scratchy, and I was speaking a lot. So it's basically puberty. So I'm going through male puberty. So if you remember your voice changing and you feeling that tingling, yeah, that's what I have, and that makes my voice get deeper. In the case of Jill,
I never had that tingling. My voice always was like, people, when I opened my mouth, they would almost, every time they would ask me, are you a boy or are you a girl? And having long dreads at that time didn't help me also, because most of the times they already saw me as a little girl. But yeah, sometimes I feel like my voice is like a little heavy, and sometimes when I drink I feel like to cry. But it's just, yeah.
Unfortunately, estrogen is not a powerful hormone that
No,
makes
not
some transgender women voice change. But some women do have changes their voice. Depends on how deep your voice is before transition.
Yeah.
You know, so because of that, some transgender women actually go through voice therapy where they actually train their voice to speak a higher pitch.
Yes.
What I also know, we've had a session where we asked ourselves whether this story is genetical, we said, or environmentally acquired. Because some, probably, I don't know how others will walk away this evening from this session, but within our community, many believe that it's fate, or people, well, it's choice. People acquire this, environmentally to serve the exigency of their situation, because we hear in Ghana, some of the university campuses, they go into these gay things, some of them. Either, now we want to use the word natural gays, because what you're telling us means that, look, some are born the way they are. So let's borrow that term, natural gays.
No. Let's not use that term. As I said, gender is totally different than sexuality.
Yes.
So you can use the term transgender.
Yes, my point is, whatever you feel is the way you feel born that way.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. You are born the way you are.
Yes.
You are born, you feel male than what your genital was. And that's what I mean that then for the argument whether genetically means that's the way, your genes, you were born a male, or you acquired that culture of being a male. So we're trying to say that for some, it is rare until probably this evening. That's why I say I don't know how some of us are going to walk away from here. But the belief is that for many, these things are not real, that people fake it. They just adopt that life, maybe just to live with it and then make some money, you know, those things. That's what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, it's for all of us here, we going to satisfy, you know, our minds as to what we believe, whether this thing is exactly what we hear or still somehow be a doubt. So I'm going to now open, you know, the session to, you know, these interactive discussions. Those who probably have questions other than what I have asked, they are free of views or comments are also welcome. Plus we're going to now get into the discussion period. So anybody who really want to, and please remember we've said your questions are free, but should come in a very polite manner. And we're not here to be embarrassed or embarrass anybody. So that is the simple rules. Yeah, okay, please. Can you then identify yourself because they have identified themselves?
I'm Betty Osusacho. I'm advisor to the Akasanoma Foundation. Chanel.
Chanel, yeah.
Chanel. How far are you in your transition?
I still would love bigger boobs, but
Oh!
but I'm done actually. I went through my full transition.
Also, you are now fully physically female.
Yes.
And genital change too?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
Sure.
Questions, please.
Well,
Are you not done?
well, I was going to ask, you know, how, I mean, after fully transitioning and physically being fully female, how do you feel when you look back, you know, when you were
A male.
a male?
When I look back, I think I should have had the strength to do it much earlier in my life, but still, I think everything happens at the time that it should. So it took me that long to be myself, and I'm happy with my journey. So, yeah. When I look back, I don't regret anything that I did. I did everything that I thought I should do. And I'm happy that I did. I know what I like, what I don't like, and I'm still growing as a woman.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Oh, you
Maybe,
still not here.
maybe the last one. Maybe this is being a bit, you know, personal, intimate. Are you in a relationship, and is it with a male or a female?
I'm single for a year now. I have been in and out of a relationship for like 7 years. And yeah, I'm single now. I still, yeah.
Looking for?
No, I'm not looking actually. I'm just waiting for the right one to meet me because it's not easy being a transgender woman. You always have to deal with the other people's perceptions of you. And it's also not easy for a guy to date me. You have to be strong. You have to stand strong in your shoes. Because you know some people will make fun of you. Some people will label you gay. Well, there's nothing gay about me, but nothing that makes you gay when you're with me. But some people still can't deal with the fact that I'm born a man. I already did everything to be a woman, but in their mind, I will always be a man. And some people just won't accept anything of my process or whatever. They won't accept that I'm born like this. They have something in their mind like you're born a boy and you're a boy and you will stay a boy, and whatever you do, nothing will change the fact that you're still a guy.
Okay, so you date males?
Yes, yeah.
You are not attracted to females.
No, I'm a straight transsexual woman.
Okay. Good. Oh, well, I know.
Before this will really miss a point. She used the then she's not a gay.
Yeah. This is what I'm coming
Now,
to. That's what I want to ask.
Yes, one moment. Because for us, as what I call laymen,
As
this
what? Laymen.
laymen, I want to use the word laymen. We are.
Somebody
I
without
don't want to use
knowledge.
the word ignorant,
Oh,
but
yes.
we
Without
don't-
knowledge.
that's the term. It's a layman.
Okay.
Yes,
Layman.
a layman's view.
We
We are not
understand
outsiders.
it.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
No, no,
that's
no.
what
Okay.
the word layman means. We see all of you as gays.
That's
Yeah.
Right.
yes, that's why I keep stressing the
Yes.
point that transgender
Yes.
is totally different. It's about your gender, how you identify with yourself.
Yes.
You know, being gay, lesbian, bisexual, it has to do with someone else. So I like to put it in this term. Being transgender is who you go to bed as. You sleep as a male. If you think yourself as a male, if you identify as male or female, that's how you sleep in your bed alone. Your orientation is who you go to bed with.
Okay.
I could be gay if I was sleeping
With
with
another
another
woman.
woman. Yeah.
Okay, that's we call them lesbians,
Yes.
and then lesbians are gays.
Yes.
Now, generally, you also sorry, you made a point that you date men, but a man who is ready to date you has to be strong. Now, Sean is male. Do you tend more to look at a transgender who is transitioned from female to male, and you from male to female, and you?
That's a great question.
Yes,
You wanna go
yes, because then you understand. You understand what
Yes, I
exactly it is.
understand his journey and he understands mine, and that's what makes him my brother. But I never dated a transgender man.
Okay.
I only dated cisgender men.
Would you like to?
It's a question that's been popping in my mind the last years.
Because it's less challenging.
Maybe,
I find it less challenging because.
yes and no. Because I haven't been giving it a lot of thoughts, because when I came, when I was busy with the Trans United things, I had a lot of transgender women. So we would go to schools and give information and
yeah.
everything and stuff. But in the beginning, when I started this, there weren't a lot of transgender men. They were like invisible. But so
Okay.
I'm happy that my brother stepped up, because he can share his story to other people, because I can only talk from out of me. I can't tell Sean his story like he would have told it.
Yeah.
So yeah. But since I'm dealing with my transgender brothers, and we ask each other those questions also, like, how would it be? We also play with the thoughts, so yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
for me, I came to Holland and realized that I am attracted to transgender women. Why? Because they are women. And
Wow.
I'm attracted to women. I'm not attracted to men at all. So if I see a woman, and then I remember being on a camp, and there was a transgender woman on the camp, and I was attracted to her. And I'm like, this was new for me. I'm like, I'm attracted to you. I'm like, okay. So the mere fact that she is a woman, and I am attracted to only women. Men does nothing for it. So I'm not gay at all. And I'm not straight either. I'm not straight. I'm coming to that. But I would not say I wouldn't date a transgender woman, because she's a woman to me, regardless. You know, and it would be easier you know, but it would be easier to relate to someone who has a similar experience, so the bond would be stronger. But for me personally, it would not necessarily be because she is transgender and she can relate to my story. No, I see her and I would be attracted to her. So it doesn't matter. I'm attracted to women, cis, trans, non-binary. It doesn't matter. As long as you are female, feminine energy, that's what I'm attracted to.
Can we have your question or she's been preempted?
No, not at all. I want to just make a statement about my personal perception about LGBT and this issue. I was born an inquisitive boy, and I want to get to know everything. Fortunately, unfortunately, I became a detective too, so investigation has been a lot. Before this issue, I had opportunity to discuss this issue. I was watching a dating site, and I saw two females with penis, and they were making love. So I started asking God for my mind. You said create human as you are. So how come women are having male organs and men are having, I don't want to, you see, I see them as hermaphrodite, a person who has both sexes. But in this case, they were two females with male organ. And I was watching them and I couldn't believe, I said, wow, they don't have a vagina, but they were making love through the anus. So when I had the opportunity to come and discuss this issue, I said to myself, I have to interrogate the issue much deeper. So I just easily got to a conclusion that, look, there are, since Michael Jackson died, there was this popular American singer, Elton John. He came and divulged the fact that British American is a British. Thank you. Immediately he said he is gay, the whole world, how? Because, so my question is, big men or celebrities or top in this country, top men or people of high positions are in this, and they are quiet. You see, so they are doing a great disservice to the young ones who are always out to fight their cause. What are the big men doing it privately, and they don't want to come out to talk about it? I took time to go to the Central Station one day to watch the gay pride. And the people I saw there, I said, you are hypocrites, you are cowards. So if not for the gay pride, these people will be hiding, so all I want to say, it is your right. It is your body, it's your life. You can do whatever you like with it. But all I want to say in short here now is, if you see anybody as a transgender or a gay or a homosexual hiding, tell him or her, I say, he's a coward. You must come out, and I am sure if all of them should come out, it will either be 50-50, the straight, we straight, and then it will be 50-50, or they will even exceed us. Thank you.
That made me very emotional. Wow, that made me very emotional. I really commend you for saying that, because it's definitely what it is, hypocrisy. And the mere fact that you can sit down and talk about it, it's just very powerful that you acknowledge that. But I wouldn't know what they do in their bedrooms, because they're celebrity. I don't know. I just want to answer that question. But the mere fact that society makes it very hard. I'm not defending the hypocrisy either. I'm just trying to find a common ground as to why they would do that. Society is not as accepting as you men. And trust me, I really commend you men here today. It's very powerful, trust me. Being open and just wanting to learn, these are the things that will make the world a better world. And if it is that persons, the society won't accept, they're not as open as you men are. So they would more more likely to be in the closet, they feel safer, you know. So for me, I can't live a lie. I never lived a lie. It would literally kill me.
Yeah.
And I knew what I went through, you know, to be here to talk about my story today. So that's why I chose to be visible. You know, even that female I told you about in Jamaica, she didn't have to come out, but she did. And that is what visibility does. You know, it empowered me, so I used my life. I'm like, okay, I would not allow other persons to go through this. You know, so I want to share my story so I could create a space for persons to live their truth and to end the hypocrisy.
Please, let me add this shortly. When I listened to our president, Akufo-Addo's interview with the BBC, Al Jazeera, okay.
It was UK person, Al
It
Jazeera.
was UK. Well, he said it is possible that it could happen in his country. People misconstrued what he meant by that. England has criminalized gay and homosexuality years back.
When he
And-
was a student there.
And later on, they decriminalize it. Okay, a time will come, all of you will come out of your closets, and people will say, no, these people, they have overwhelmed us. Let us allow them to do their thing. You know, that was the path Akufo-Addo was told. I remember very well when I was a kid, Akpetashi, a hard liquor in Ghana.
It was illegal.
Illegal to, am I right?
Yes. It was illegal.
Today, as I speak, they want to bottle it, yeah, brand it, label it well, and sell. People drink Akpetashi, distill Akpetashi, and nothing happens to them. Some people are languishing in jail because of that stuff. This is the dynamism of human being. We can transform
The same thing applies to marijuana.
at the same time.
President, what is Akpetashi?
Akpetashi
It's
is like a vodka. It's a hard liquor. Very strong, very understanding.
95%. Before the next question, I really want to clear here on our brother's statement. I think it's easier for some of us seeing your case from the female thing at birth, your genital, now you are male. The reverse is this. Now, when it comes to the Ghanaian thing he is referring to, people frown at it when it's in the gay level. And the gay level is a man and a man who imagine them being in bed. And then, of course, since it's not the opposite sex and they have to make love, people assume that in that kind of relationship, they obviously, behind closed doors, this is what they do. And that's where it becomes a bit dirty. It becomes dirty and people want to shun it because of probably religious background and things. I don't think I have a problem if you feel male and you've been transformed from female to male and you are having a relationship with the opposite sex, either straight or born that way or transgender from male to female, and you choose to go into a relationship. I don't think society will have a problem with that necessarily. But a situation where a woman and a woman, same sex, is where people still are not open to. So it should be very clear. That's where the issue. We change it there.
Yeah.
Okay, just we pause for a moment because the cameras have to change. Thank you very much. Thank you. We're back. I think we give the chance to Joe Bading to ask his question. He has a question because it's time pressed, so that we can.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jolamte. My name is Joe Bading. I have just two questions. No, one. And one is for both of you. First, with
Janelle.
Generally,
Yeah.
can you get pregnant?
That was.
The second one is, can you make your partner pregnant?
Can I make my partner?
Because you-
No.
Okay. That's all. Meaning.
No.
I won't be having
Why, if I should ask, why no in your case?
After all the
And
transformation.
yes, that's what we were thinking. Technology or science, medically, to go beyond just voice change and the rest, you know, so that you could have the really, you know, full male thing, and then it means you can produce, because then if really people will be convinced that you were born a male in you, only came out with the female genital,
So that you
then
have the
then
totality
it
of
means
man.
that then
Full.
that's where it becomes convincing.
Okay, then.
So what how do you explain it?
Because
Why
I
you say
can't
no?
imagine a man without sperms.
Okay. Then again, you
Easy.
Who don't give birth?
Let him explain for what he saw.
Again, it is unfortunate that you are assigning genitalia, reproductive organs, to gender. Gender in itself is totally opposite than genitalia, and I know it is something that is very hard to accept, but science has proved this, and this is just what it is. No, not science. Science would say that men do this, that, but genitalia is totally different than your gender. So, and unfortunately, science has not yet discovered how for transgender men to produce sperm, because I was not born with that organ to produce sperm.
So it means you have,
Prostate.
you've gone through transformation, but all that you are transformed into is only reproductive. You don't have reproductive organs.
No.
I do have a reproductive organ, but I'm the one that would be
Suppressing.
carrying the child. I still can reproduce. I still
Then
can
you
have a
have-
child.
Oh, okay.
So
Do you get his response? Within him, he can be pregnant,
Yeah.
Yes, I
but
can.
she cannot be pregnant. That's exactly what his answer is.
So how do you intend to reproduce them? Because if from all the conclusions you've drawn and our understanding from this whole discussion,
IVF will help him.
you are now, of course, you are a male, and I
Yeah,
also
IVF.
see you as a male.
Yeah.
In that case, if you would have a relationship, how do you intend to go into a relationship with another male or with a female?
No. I'm attracted to women. Hands down. It doesn't matter.
So you are attracted to women.
Yes.
And then how do you intend that woman to get you pregnant?
The question is, do I want to get pregnant? But I'm just kind of sparking a conversation here. I just need to be fertilized. My eggs would need to be fertilized. That's it. And I don't need to be penetrated to be fertilized. And if it is that I do decide to carry a child, it wouldn't be a problem. That's me wanting to carry a child. I would go through a full pregnancy, then I would not be pushing this child outward. I will prefer a C-section, but if I choose to go down that road, I would definitely be able to be pregnant. That's if I choose to be pregnant.
If you choose to be pregnant,
Yes.
that's very good.
So it means you have
Still womb.
Female
Yes,
You
I
still have a womb.
womb,
So
I have ovaries,
you
yes.
have two advantages there. You can make love to a woman and you can also be pregnant.
Oh, well, if you look at it that way.
With this, I would
Because I was-
May I really come in and get some, let's get some things clear. I think,
Okay.
sorry.
well,
Please.
I think, those born with female, let's say, organs, they have, the female internal organs. And they don't have the male internal organs. I mean, we're talking about sperms, the prostate produces sperms. And if you are not born with prostate, then you can produce sperms. But if science gets so advanced that they can create prostate for transgenders, then they may be able to produce sperms. And you know, the trans female doesn't have the internal female, you know, reproductive organs. And it is possible that science can, you know, get there with time. And then they can. So, I mean, that we should put into consideration. And there is a case in the Netherlands where two trans people are married, and you know, the one born with female internal organs, who is now a man, is now carrying a baby because they decided to have a kid.
I think, can I ask a question?
Yes, you're free.
All right, my name is Eric, and we really appreciate your presence, actually. I'm really intrigued by your discussions and also learning more about how this whole transformation process works, because I have never had the opportunity to have such a conversation before, so we really appreciate it. The first point I would like to make is with regard to Adelankwa's, our president's comments on the whole LGBT issue. I think what most Ghanaians are, in my point of view, are getting wrong is we can't separate the two main things. One is the religious viewpoint, and the other one is the legal right. These are two separate things. So me personally, I don't expect a politician to actually say it's not possible in my country for gays or lesbians or the whole LGBT practice to be performed. But what I have problem with is our religious leaders, because I expect they are the people, if they want to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and base their discussions on the Bible, of course the Bible frowns on this practice. That's it's boldly written everywhere. So I expect rather not a politician to come out and say it's not allowed in my country, but rather I expect our religious leaders, the pastors and the bishops and all the titles we have in Ghana, they are the ones actually responsible for this statement to say, well, we don't agree or we would not accept it or this practice. However, if the politicians are going to do it, it's their job. But we as practicing Christians, they can speak in that manner. So in that sense, I think, Ghanaians don't really, they try to mix the two, and that's totally wrong in my point of view. My big question to you is, so that was a comment for Adelankwa's remark. In countries like Uganda, where there was a big issue going on, I don't know if probably you've had the opportunity to really look into issues with LGBT in Uganda. The president, Museveni, he once said that the practice of LGBT is by choice, rather than inborn.
Yeah, that's correct.
That was what Museveni said, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of years ago. Exactly. And
now even it is concluded that you are caught, you will be hanged.
Exactly. So it's really punishable by death. And of course, I personally, I don't support this whole death penalty or punishment system. However, even if you want to change someone, there is always, if I expect to change someone, I have to go on down to their level, try to understand their case. Then you learn from what they will say, and you offer your opinion. Whether they take it or not, it's up to them. That's how I see it. But punishing someone by death, I think that is too extreme. However, he said, the conclusion he made was, it was by choice. But he didn't base his conclusion by just a mere statement. He also backed it up with some, he said it was backed by some research findings, which made it quite interesting, because I was, from your discussion, you made it clear also that science has not really proven that whether it's inborn or people just choose it, if I'm just quoting you correct. So how do you justify your position that your genital or a person's genital doesn't connect with their gender? How do you justify that?
That's a really good question.
Thank you.
How my brain is programmed, how I see the world from a mental space, I do not connect with anything female rather, about my body and how I choose to, how I see the world. You know, I don't connect with certain parts of my body at all. It makes me very sad. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me uneasy. So with that being said, interacting with a transgender person is something basically that happens in your brain. How your brain is wired, how you see the world, how you feel inside. It doesn't matches what is outside. So this is how I can explain it. So there is no way possible for me to connect with being in a relationship with a male or even being penetrated or anything that a woman would do. Because I lived as a woman for some time.
Did you have a boyfriend before? Sorry.
If I had a boyfriend, oh, you're getting very personal.
No, I'm just curious.
You're getting very personal.
Just curious.
No, he said before.
Before this stage, did you have a...
That's very personal, actually. But just to answer your question, yes, I have had boyfriends before. So it didn't feel... I could not connect with it. I could not connect with it. So science has said mentally, yes, the brain operates in this way. The brain doesn't connect with the genitals that you were born with. You know, so that's one way I could answer your question.
Okay.
So, yeah, I hope.
Yeah, almost. I'll buy it this way. Yeah, it makes sense actually because connecting for the brain. I think my last question, if I
please go ahead.
Just one last one, very short one. It's relating to public services because there was also quite some discussion, a lot of uproar about public services, how people, the LGBT, can also use public services. For example, if you go to the community, if you go to the commune to register, because by birth you were registered maybe woman or a man. However, you grew up and then you became a different person. Well, maybe not necessarily a different person, but you know, by yourself,
gender change.
Gender change.
You transform to
exactly
the other
to maybe the other gender. Is it? Do you still have? Is there a process here in a country like Holland where this whole LGBT is accepted? Is there a process you can change your gender to opposite sex, or is there something like that?
For me, it's different, but yes, it is possible. For me, it's different. You want to go first?
Yes, it's okay. Yes, it's possible. They changed it a few years ago because, like, I think 5 years now, right? Or 5 years ago.
That means originally you were registered as a boy.
Yes, I was registered. I'm born and raised here, and I was
And
registered.
what was the name?
A boy.
What was the name then?
What?
Yeah,
Male name.
My name, I don't think that's important.
No, that's not.
Okay, well, if you don't need to go there, maybe, because
that's
you know,
not important. But I had
traditionally,
yeah, I had,
know, female get male, female names,
yeah.
you know, so as long as you are called Mary and Beth,
no,
and now you,
my mother
that
had
is
grey
Shion's
hopes.
case.
I had 3 male names from the Bible. I won't call them. One fell in something where lions were. And no, I don't use those names anymore. No.
I only wanted to know that at registration, that's the name. So are you allowed to change the name? You know, that's all.
I'm allowed. You get like a paper where your dysphoria is on it, and with that paper you're allowed to go change your name.
Okay.
Now it's before they made that law, you had to go to the advocate.
Yeah.
Then you had to pay for every letter of those names. So,
That is true.
Now it's made cheaper.
How about toilet facilities? Like,
Let's take it easy.
Sorry. Toilet facilities, how do you manage it also? I'm curious.
For me, just to answer the name thing, as Janella said, you have to get a paper from the VUNC, that's where the gender clinic is, and stating, I'm a psychologist, that you're diagnosed with gender dysphoria and you like to change your name, blah, blah, and you take that paper to a institution in Denmark, I don't remember the name, you send it there, and then in my case, I would have to notify my birth certificate in Jamaica to say it's authentic, and then send it there, and then they would change my gender, because my name, even here in the Jamaica, they have both my name, Sean Claude, and my name as given at birth. They have it in their system, but they legally cannot change the gender. But the name is something that it's easier.
I mean, even the so-called straight, we also change our names. What about toilet facilities?
So the change only affects the name, but not your sex at birth.
The change, your name change only affects your gender, really. The gender, that's the most important, because
the old or new.
No, if you are male,
you are male, for instance.
Yes,
you are
it said it's possible to change from male to female.
They will change both sex and the name.
Yes, with that letter from the WHO, it gives them
then it's clear.
the permission medically to change, legally rather, to change your gender. And if you choose to change your name.
Someday.
Well, can I ask you about the toilet facility, but I don't know if you
for me, I use the male bathroom.
You haven't had any drama or any distance or something?
She's hasn't already been like you.
Personally, for me.
But when you look,
nothing looks like.
Honestly, when I saw you, I thought you were a man.
That's a good thing, because I am a man.
So I have a simple question to ask.
For me personally, I use the male bathroom. And that's really, for me, really, I don't really personally, it doesn't affect me or other person see it, because it's not my issue, that's their issue. So if I want to use the bathroom, I use the male bathroom. Unfortunately, I'm not able to use a urinal yet, but I use the cubicle. Yeah.
Cool. I'm done, thanks.
Okay. Well, because the note on which he landed was going to be my question, but let me give you the chance and then I come back.
Sean? Yeah. You are so beautiful to be a wife. I have to be honest. You are so beautiful. And you are also handsome. But I have a simple question, because, this is very wonderful for all sessions that we've done here. Because when we were coming, we thought it was going to be the old situation. We were going to talk about gay and lesbianism. But here is different scenario, talking about changing gender. And my simple question is, how did your mother or your parents felt when you decided to change your gender? Because I want to know, so that if a parent is also going through, you know how to handle. For me, I will go with the Bible, but this session is about education, more educative than all that we've ever done. So I want to know, and how do you feel what your mother also went through, losing her girl to become a mother?
That's a very good question. Really good questions coming out of the session.
Yes.
My mom, she was always open to me being attracted to women, and me being my authentic self. She's still coming around in accepting the fact that I am going through a transition, but she is very much open. She asks questions. She's very supportive. And just the other day, recently, I had a conversation with her, because my mom lives in the States. And I was talking to her, but she would still refer to me as my name at birth and as her daughter.
Yes.
And it would make me very uncomfortable. And she was the only person that, for me, makes, I give her that time to ease into it. And it has been happening for a while now. So I just told her that it makes me sad that you do this, that you still refer to me as your daughter, and even my father, because he's still doing it. And but they're still open to the idea and wanting to learn. And I told her, like, for me, you need to really make an effort now, because this is me, and it makes me sad when you do that. She's like, it's going to take a while for me to accept this, and I'll always see you as your daughter, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I really got radical on her. And I'm like, okay, this is really not about you. I accept the fact that you're my mom, but this makes me happy. And if it is that you are going to continue to do this, we're going to have an issue, and we need to talk about this. She was not really too open to that. She was like, you're pushing this now, you're pushing this. And I stood my ground, and I made it known that, listen, this is really not about you, this is about me and my life. I'm grateful that you're my mom, I'm grateful that you are in my life, but right now, this is for me, this is life and death for me. It's literally life and death for me. So if it is that you can't celebrate me, we're going to have an issue. And she didn't talk to me for like 2 days. And I'm like, okay, I love you too. And she sent me little messages on WhatsApp as well, just kind of to soften the whole thing, these little chain messages. And then she used my last name. That's progress. She didn't use, because I'm still going with my last name. So she didn't use my name given at birth. She's like, hi Newville, how are you doing? So I'm like, okay, there's progress. So if it is that you are open to, with your parents, it works for me, because I'm open with my parents, because I'm always open. I think it works best, you know, to be authentic and to be open and see where it leads from there.
So my question was, how do you think, I know in such a situation, even your first name is going to bring you down, being felt, I'm no more like that. But do you think your mother is also going through stress when she is also going to call you a female name?
To be honest, I think she would, because it wouldn't be easy for her.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. But I look at it at a place where if it is that you want me to be happy, and if it is that you love me and genuinely love me the way you say you do, you will take yourself out of it. Because the truth is, personally, it may sound very radical, my life is not about you. You know, you had your life, and I'm grateful for you, and you know, but for me, this is what makes me happy. And we just need to find some way to deal with this, to learn how to deal with this together. Because if it is that you want to be a part of my life, this is where I'm at. You need to be able to meet me halfway, and we can go through this together. There are places that we could go that are provided for persons, parents of transgender persons, to seek counseling, to actually deal and to learn how to cope and how to deal with this issue.
Okay, so what can you?
My name is Marabutre. In fact, my question is what exactly my brother has just asked. And as he has asked our dear brother now, I think the same thing can go to our dear sister. But first, my first question, before you answer that question, is as so many parts have been changed on your body at the moment. You know, as a man and a woman, when we are having intercourse, we have some kind of special feeling we are originally. But now that you are there, how do you feel on that note, if there's something of that sort going on between you and
That one goes deep. How do I keep this snatches?
Politically correct, yeah?
I think, in my personal experience, that as a man, when you're having that sex and you come, it's like very strong, and yeah, it's explosive. And as a woman, it's more soft.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that answer your question? But still, it feels 10,000 times better than what you might feel for me. So.
10,000 better. Because the other one is the original one.
I'm happy that I could have experienced it because I was born like that and it worked.
Let's look at God has created something, you see, originally for us. You see, because my brother was about to give us reference to the Bible. And let me read something short from the Bible. If we look at Proverbs chapter 30, verse 19, it said, the way of an eagle in the sky, the way of a snake on the rock, the way of the sheep on the high seas, and the way of a man is within the making of a woman. That is where it is. You see, so this is how God created. You see, but anyway, like we are discussing, we are all learning. We are all learning. We are learning something. So I think what you have said is understood. And the second question is how my brother asked me, how does your family?
My family. Well, it was hard at first, but I'm not an unreasonable person. It took me long to accept myself and embrace myself. And when I stood my ground, they also, they observed me, they looked at me, and they noticed that I'm so much more of a happy person than I was before. So they know it's not a phase, it's not me acting like something, it's just me being me. So they embraced it too. And yeah, it went quickly, but I think they really noticed that I'm really happy being me, and they've seen me too in my darker periods. So I think it's like they understand it now, like, okay, this is what was wrong with you all this time, and they accept me now for who I am. I am my daddy's girl and my mama's princess, so it's really great for me. If somebody ever would have a problem with me, my brothers would be the first one to jump up, like, who is what, where we have to be. So I'm very happy.
Yeah. Thank God for that. I think before the next question comes, a reminder here. Some may be new to this, but I think some of the faces are old enough at some of our sessions. Reality is that we have a Ghanaian mother. I ask you to watch some of the programs on YouTube. We have a Ghanaian mother who, as we speak, has a child born. The case of Janelle, genitally a male. And well, she was at one of our sessions. I mean, that for me as a Ghanaian, I need to put this on record, that we should not think, we are hearing this from non-Ghanaian, because we had that here. And this was a case where the boy was actually quietly using the mother's underwear.
I use my sisters also.
Very early age, and he was doing that quietly. He goes to the mother's closet, takes her underwear to school. He comes back and quietly, put it down without the knowledge of the mother. And she started sensing it, that it's like by the time she's going to get the underwear, it's being used. And she didn't know what was going on. But it was the boy who was doing that. So at a point, he had to come out. Okay? Now the mother has accepted. I know probably he will not have problem with the name, because the name is Nana.
Oh,
and Nana will be for a boy or a girl. So he was named originally Clive. So now the mother calls him Nana, it settles. That's how they settle, because he's undergoing this therapy, this transformation process, and he's also going to really transform to female. I think by now it's at the very, because this is some years back, by now I think it's at the advanced level of so this is a case, a Ghanaian case we have, and the mother, she I think will be luckier, because the mother now refers to her as she, and she is ready to stand by him. That was her testimony here at one of our sessions, that she is going to stand by him, go to any length to make sure what he feels is what she is going to accept. So your story is not new to us as Ghanaians. It's about the Ghanaian mother who here in Amsterdam, who was here at one of our sessions. It was recorded and it's on YouTube. So this is no secret at all.
No, I already knew that if I do the operation that I couldn't make it, I could have frozen sperm before I went through it, but I didn't, because at the time that they offered it to me, I was already like too long on hormones. And they told me that I could stop my hormones and then they could look if they were active swimmers in that male substance. But they couldn't guarantee me that. So I said, I won't stop my hormones, I will just go on my road. And I was like, if I have to have a child, I will have it in another way. There's adoption or whatever. There are enough children that needs love, so
Exactly.
I won't be doing it with my own sperm.
And it's the same here. Well, I am still able, because I still do have my internal organs. I can be pregnant, but it's just a choice if I would want to. I no longer have a period because of testosterone. So if I would want to, if I would want to,
yes, she's dancing because she doesn't go through that.
If I would want to, if I would want to have a child, I would definitely have to stop testosterone so that I could be able to ovulate again. So I would be able to have a child. So if it is that I choose to have a biological child, that is what I would do, and it's still based on, it all boils down to choice.
Because you mentioned at the age of 4, you started noticing these feelings, and I think
almost the same.
Yeah, almost. But I thought, in my opinion, I think it's too soon, or it's too early to know.
Why? When you were 4, when you were at that age, you already know that you're a boy. So
you
identify
I totally feeling that. But I think maybe we take those things for granted. But I think at the age of 4, you see girls, and there are some girls you feel shy because and then we start like, oh, that's the girlfriend.
It is those who are doing my mini papa like you.
But I mean, it's normal. You see the children at that age who
it's natural
because this case I cited, this family were in the same building. And this boy, right from that youth age, you always see him playing with the girls instead of the boys. And we heard later in school, at that very, very young age, he plays with a baby doll. Instead of when the boys are carrying dolls, you see him with doll. So naturally, it's possible at that early age to start.
I think that time it's not a feeling. You won't get that feeling.
No, you're mentally you are attracted.
It's too early, 4 years, you have
no,
that
feeling.
But you rather feel like playing with your opposite sex.
No, it's
No,
not.
no,
I think
but
at that
Let me
age,
explain.
at that age, but for me, let me explain with my case. For me, I acknowledge that I was attracted to girls at age 4.
Yeah.
I knew
That
it
was it,
because
yeah.
I would interact with boys, and when I would interact with boys, it didn't.
It makes no difference. You
I-
don't see the.
I wasn't invested, I wasn't connected, I didn't get that rush. But when I would make up with the girls,
Yeah,
I
it
felt
goes fun.
happy. I was like, oh, this feels, it just gives me this feeling. I knew that, okay, I was acknowledging the fact that I'm attracted to women at that age.
Yes.
I would still do things that the boys do, even though I was very girly. And even now I'm very feminine. That's another case, but I guess into that. But for me, I would play football, I would do the things the boys would do. When I would play with dolls, dollhouse, I would love to be the brother or the father so I could get a girlfriend. I would like to be a mama papa. I would like to be a sister or a mama. I would just do it just to, yeah.
But the question here is, sorry, let me chip in one little
we
question.
can't sit here forever.
The question is, if you were at that tender age, if you already knew that you were more attracted to girls, how come when you grew up and you started having a relationship, because if I listened to you correctly, you also mentioned that you also had a relationship with men before. So how come do you see the twist? So how come you didn't just continue on that trend right from 4 years old to your adulthood side,
Society contributed to that.
Yeah.
I was born in a very Christian country,
Yes.
and this is wrong and you shouldn't do this, and it's just acceptable for you to be attracted to men, so you forced yourself to be attracted to men. You forced yourself to, you want to do this, you need to do this, but it just didn't feel, I didn't have any form of connection with it at all. So it was a struggle.
Thank you very much. Simple question, and you get a very straightforward answer. You ask your the gentleman, is there any final thing you want to say?
No, actually, I would just like to remark that
It's fantastic.
we've had a good time and learned a lot. So it's something we will carry with us.
Yes, again, you pass it on. You pass it on, Mr.
I think same applies to me. So thank them very much for honoring the invitation given to. If we were to do some people, they would say, how come I go and the woman secret something I'm doing personally to the public like this? But as dear brother said earlier on, we are still learning. And through this short meeting, we have learned a lot. So we thank them very much, and we hope anytime we invite them again on another topic, they'll honor it. So thank you.
Your comment, please, quickly.
Well, okay. Thanks for coming to share your experiences with us. What I would like to add is that at times I try to let our religious brothers also understand that we have to be very careful when trying to use the book to justify some things that put others in a corner, because there are a whole lot of things in the book that now we know that can't be right, because the book condones slavery, which we all know that is not true. You see, so anything that puts other human beings in a corner, we should be very careful in trying to use it to justify that. That's what I would
Can we do it? Just move on.
We really just, others have said, we appreciate your coming and sharing your experience and learned something very important out of it that I think the brother will needs to know, and we are grateful for that.
With the
detailed explanation you've offered this evening. I am overwhelmed. But all I want to say is that
the big ones.
I have a phobia. I'm developing a
Calm down.
in the sense that I know gays do normally adopt. But what I'm hearing from you now is you have the right either not to give birth, and I'm looking at the far end, you are going to extinct humanity. A time may come where there will be no woman, because if you decide not to have children, a time may come where human population will be extinct.
Human population will be endangered.
Because if you don't want to have a child, he doesn't want to have a child.
There are a lot of straight people who decide to have children.
That rule would only apply if everybody decides to do the same.
Okay, yes, last.
And then my question is, you said you are no princess. When are you going to finish?
Again?
Your process.
Oh,
How long?
Your transition.
As long as I'm comfortable to go through a full transition, and to be honest, I don't think I will go for a full transition right now. Where I'm at, I'm definitely looking forward in doing a mastectomy, as top surgery, removal of the breast tissue. And from there, who knows if I would go another step, but I'm good with the mastectomy for now.
Okay. Well, being a preacher, I would say that we are cautious about our love. We love and care, because that is what we've been ushered to preach about. Jesus came to love us. So I just want to say, I love you all, but if there is any change of mind to glorify your Creator, just let us know, so that one way or the other, we can also offer our spiritual support and advice. Thank you.
Personally, I think I'm honoring my Creator, so yeah. Being myself, I'm being true to myself.
On the note he landed, if you still have to open our mind to that, is it possible to reverse where you got to?
Reverse my transition?
Yes.
Right now, if I choose to stop hormones, which would be when pigs start to fly.
Let me be clearer. What I mean by reverse, assuming you had this, your sex is changed, you have now the penis. Is it reversible?
Some surgeries aren't reversible. Yep. Some are. If I do a mastectomy, when I do a mastectomy, you can be able to do implants if it is that.
The rest, what is that mastectomy?
Mastectomy is the removal of the breast.
Okay,
yeah. It's the removal of the breast. Is a surgery that's also used in breast cancer patients. The removal of the breast. You can also put implants. And yeah, I could hormones right now. My voice will change. My voice will be the same. My facial hair will grow. My hair will still be there, but I would start ovulating again. That's the only thing that would happen now.
And if you have the penis, they can still take it off.
No, some surgeries are irreversible.
Irreversible. So partial reversal is possible. That's partial.
No.
Partial, I mean, yeah, some things are reversible, that's what makes it partial.
Yeah, some surgeries are not reversible.
Final question, actually. Do you make love? I'm coming with this.
These questions are
Come on, let's just land it there.
I just want to reiterate what my brother said, even making reference to the scripture that he said. with men, you know, your man is an explosion, and I do have that explosion, so I just put it that way. So I have that explosion.
We don't go far for that. Honestly, if I need let you know this, we have those who are closer to the wife. The pastor, he is a pastor. He's an elder in the church. Honestly, as the discussion, he's an elder in the church. That is, so these are people who are sitting comfortably with you. And time it was in our community, they will never want to sit here and do this. So that's a way to assure you times have changed.
Yes, definitely.
And for those, if I have to paraphrase my brother there, those who are still in the closet, probably they need to know.
Yeah. Because
the event I met him, this connecting difference, it's always, you know, how to be yourself. That's their focus. I mean, this evening we had that benefit of probably, you know, being let into a different world on this issue of, you know, what we in fact, in the African community, they don't even want to know LGBT. They classify everybody homosexual. That's how we take it. So
this doesn't exist.
Just a brief pause.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, just a minute.
So, okay. Yeah, because I think I was going to ask that, well, if the penis was not meant for procreation, did you really need to go and to make the sex change? So, but let's leave that. Then you've heard when you were away, we've shared the view that this place shouldn't be the end of this, as Africans and Ghanaians for that matter. I have really proposed that for knowledge purposes, I think the churches should be able to also open up for things like this, especially the transgender experience thing. And we need to clarify things more for our community, because all that we know is anything close to this is homosexuality. But this evening has proven that there's more to it than just a question of man-to-man relationship or female-to-female relationship, that's the lesbians and then the homosexual. Yeah. There's so much happening in the lives of many, and I think the community should really be abreast with it. And on that note of where we say we live and let live, I think the world is big enough, I'm of the opinion, to contain everybody, you know, in terms of who you feel you are. And I would really wish people out there who also embrace, you know, this challenge of sitting together with some of you who would then have that benefit of sharing, you know, experience, whatever it is. I have cited the case of a Ghanaian mother. Yeah. This is real. It's not fake. Yeah. And for that matter, I hope others out there will not see some of us sitting here as promoting the so-called, you know, homosexuality. It's just a knowledge-based thing. Yeah. We create a platform for us to know. And I can assure you this will be on YouTube. It's going to be really an eye-opener for a lot of people in our community. And for that matter, we are very, very grateful for you accepting to be here this evening with experience. I will always be with you at your events. And I thank you very much on behalf of the organization, Akasanoma Foundation, and the rest who made time to be here and have stayed on till this moment. We are very grateful. It's a pleasure being with you all, and have a good night. Thank you very much.
I just want to say, I just want to say though that the real champions here are you guys. This is very big, very big. The mere fact that you men are men from religious backgrounds, not only religion but Christianity, and you come with your personal opinions but you are open to learn more about what is happening in the society. This is really commendable, and I think you guys are the real champions here. The mere fact that you are open to learn and to experience new persons. This is really powerful, and I must congratulate you for having me, and just being the mere fact that you can just have me and sit and think, you know. And it's the first time I'm around Christian men, and I don't feel intimidated at all. I feel more accepted, and I'm in an atmosphere to learn, which is very good. And I want to thank you guys for facilitating that. And you are the people that are going to make this world a better place in the name of love. And that's all I feel here today. And thank you very much.
Pleasure.